First, giving honor and glory to God, who is the head of my life. It is only because of him that I live, move, and have my being. Welcome back to my channel, you guys. This is Shantara. I pray that you are well, doing amazing, feeling amazing, holding on to hope and faith. I just wanted to share a little bit of my story and back history. And I think a lot of me wanting to share is what happened to me on my birthday. Just feeling like, you know, some things shouldn't have happened and some things shouldn't have been said. But a lot of times, especially now in this season of transformation and moving into a new season and healing and peeling back all the layers and really truly understanding that I am being used to be a generational curse breaker. And a lot of the times when you are a generational curse breaker, there are a lot of evil and demonic things that you have to uncover, things that you've been through in your past, things that happen to you that affects the way you walk, talk, think, act, decision making, choices that you make, and all of those things, right? And I feel for a lot of the times we don't talk about these things or we don't say these things because a lot of people feel like, you know, certain things should stay within the family and you shouldn't talk about certain stuff, and certain stuff should be withheld within because people don't want to be embarrassed and people don't want to be exposed. But I'm here to tell you this. If you didn't want to be exposed, then you should treat people better. If you didn't ever want your name to come out, and we don't even have to say names, but if you never wanted people to find out who you really were and the things that you've done in the dark, you should be a better person. So when I'm talking about toxic family and me having to cut off different family members and me always praying to God after my mama died that he would give me, you know, a beautiful family, that I'll be able to have a family that's genuine, that's loving, that's caring, that's kind, you know, and all of those things that I knew his blueprint was, right? I'm 15. My mom goes in for surgery on her back. And my mom was the mom where all of the cousins were at our house, like their moms worked or whatever, and we always had the cousins at our house and all that stuff. So she was that time. She was always a babysitter. There was always kids and cousins over at our house, right? So when my mom went in for back surgery, she ended up getting sick inside of there and caught pneumonia. The, you know, wound opened up, got sick, all that stuff, and she never came out. And so I remember me and my sisters, there's 4 girls, but 3 of us were living in a house together. My oldest sister always was with that side of the family, always, you know, grew up over there, was always with my grandma and was always with my aunties, always over there, right? So when my mom died at 15, I remember staying a night at an aunt's house. I think we stayed a couple of nights while they had different meetings about where we would go. You know, we were all teenagers, 15, 14, and 11, 12. Where we would go, you know, whose house would we live in? Where would we stay? You know, I understand it was probably, I know it was a big responsibility. So they were trying to figure out, you know, where we would go or all of those things, right? You know, you feeling uncomfortable. You at an aunt's house and she's spraying stuff and cleaning up, and you know, you can't sit certain ways and you just feeling uncomfortable, all while you just lost your mother. Y'all trying to figure out now where you going. So we end up going to the aunt who has no children, right? And so we're living with the aunt who has no children. There was times where she would spit loogies in the food and drinks to keep us from eating and drinking. Mind you, this is now our money in the house. You know what I'm saying? So there was a separation between name brand food and just regular off-brand food. And, you know, some of the stuff that she had, she would spit loogies in it, right? She would even, I heard her over talking one day. She was mad at somebody through a drive-thru. She worked at a pizza parlor. She was telling her friend how the lady made her so mad she was being a bee over the intercom, and she spit loogies in the lady's pizza and in her drink. Now, if you can spit a loogie in your pizza or in your food at home, in the drinks at home, and then turn around and eat it and drink it yourself, it says a lot about the person that you are. When my mama died, her best friend was, lived on an Indian farm, very wealthy, very well off, paid for her entire funeral. Her best friend paid for her funeral. All of that was taken care of. So we get the obituary, and we see the obituary, and the obituary is set for September 17th. That is my youngest sister's birthday. And so we're crying in an uproar saying, how in the world can we go bury our mom on our sister's birthday? Like, nobody took into consideration, nobody knew, nobody thought, nobody knew when our birthdays was, nobody knew anything. So they had to go and redo the obituary and set it up for another date. The funeral was had, but there was remainder of money that was left over. Right now, to this day, my mother still does not have a headstone. Yes, us as adults now, we could have got mama a headstone. We've talked about it plenty of times, plenty of income taxes, but we just never came together as in solidarity and put a headstone there. I've only probably been there twice to the cemetery back home in Bakersfield. I don't really care to go there. It's not really something that I desire or want to do or anything like that, right? So I'm not really worried about that. But to this day, she does not have a headstone because the remainder of the money was stolen. Any type of cars, any type of everything that was, I was being taught how to drive at this time, being taught how to drive because her legs and stuff was numb. She had a car. Everything was sold. And she received this money. My aunt, the lady that we were living with, she received this money, right? And so we had to share underwear. We had to lotion up with cooking oil. We weren't being treated with like love, kindness, and respect. She had another daughter, and there was so much favoritism there. She would take her and, do for her and make sure she had, and we were just like the outcast. You know what I'm saying? We were the outcast. So just imagine you losing your mom, losing your best friend as a teenager. You know what I'm saying? The prime and trying to figure it out. You're dating and all of this stuff. And it's just a life of devastation at this point, right? And so while living with her, my sister, we're 11 months apart, right up under me, she ended up getting pregnant. She was turned 15. She was having a baby at 16, right? So she goes to go have the baby. It's time. She went and bought all the stuff. The baby had all the stuff. The room is decorated as if the baby was coming home, right? She's in labor, and the doctor, there was another trainee there, and so he's training the lady on how to deliver and the whole process or whatever. So the baby begins to suffocate in coming out of the womb. The baby begins to suffocate. And instead of him taking over, he allowed her and teaching her, this is what you do, you get the forceps or whatever, and the heart rate is steady declining. And so he's teaching her and training her in the midst of this, you know what I'm saying? Full term, perfect pregnancy and all of this. So the lady couldn't do it, you know what I'm saying? Eventually the heart rate ended up dropping and the baby ended up dying, right? My very first niece, she ended up passing away. She suffocated inside the birth canal, right? And so okay, so that happened. And so when it was time for my sister to return home, we all come home. It's time to bring my sister home. You know what I'm saying? Me and my other sister, we rallying around her, whatever. She's devastated. Came home, there's no baby. When we walk in the room, she opens the door, and the room is completely empty, as if no child was ever even thought of, as if there was never even a pregnancy, and when my sister opened the room and saw the room completely empty, she literally had a nervous breakdown. She literally had a nervous breakdown, and the response was, I didn't think you wanted to see the stuff, and I didn't think that you wanted the stuff here, when in reality is the moment you found out that the baby died, you left the hospital, went back to the house, and took everything back that you bought, took it back to the store, and got all of your money back. Your money, our money back. You went and got all of the money back. So it was things like that that we went through after my mom died. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying through these times that we didn't get help from an aunt here or there, but the love, the care, the kindness, and it's a family like always gossiping. This family, they always know everybody's business. They always, you know what I'm saying? And even within the family, my boy cousin on my mama's side ended up taking the life of the boy cousin on my dad's side. So in that, we all had a choice and a decision to make. So they started talking to them or whatever, and I stood on where I wanted to stand. And so I don't deal with them at all, period. I didn't deal with them at all after that situation. You guys can choose to decide to still have a relationship with them or whatever, but that's not what I'm going to do. And to this day, I do not have a relationship with them over there at all, period. You know what I'm saying? I just choose not to. So after all of this time and all of these different things and situations went on, you know, we were bullied as, you know, kids in school and all that. My sister I ended up moving out. I called one of my aunts and told her, look, this is what's happening. I feel rage coming over me. I feel like I'm about to do something to your sister tonight. If you don't come and get me, you know, it's just gonna be, I'm gonna end up, you know, whatever. So she came to get me that night, and, you know, that's how I ended up moving out. But unbeknownst to my sister, when the baby died, she contacted a lawyer for malpractice, and she opened up a lawsuit. And so she had this lawsuit going on that nobody knew about. So one day she was gone, and we were all at the apartment just, you know, hanging out or whatever, and we received a phone call from attorney something. Pick up the phone. Hey, I'm trying to reach so-and-so about, you know, this baby, whatever the case or situation. She was like, well, I'm the mother. You know what I'm saying? It's like, well, you're the mother. Yeah, I'm the mother. I'm the mother. So anything you're talking about this baby should be directed to me. Unbeknownst to her, my sister, to anybody, there was a whole lawsuit with this baby that she had going on. And when she answered the phone, God is so good. When she answered the phone, she was able to talk to the lawyer and figure out, you know, what was going on and how she had this lawsuit going on behind her back or whatever. Long story short, they ended up figuring it out. She ended up, you know, talking to them, going down there, sending in paperwork, all this stuff, all that. And my sister ended up getting, you know, hundreds, thousands of dollars of malpractice lawsuit, you know. And after that, she ended up taking my auntie to court, and they emancipated her and allowed her to take my little sister to move out and live with them before they were 18. So obviously, there had to be some truth there if the judge agreed with my sisters upon what we were experiencing in this house, right? So, you know, these are all things. And even after all of that, I was angry, I was upset, I was promiscuous, I was cussing up a storm, cussing like a sailor. I hated everybody. I went through this whole stage of being so angry, so upset, just so depressed, and just so blackout drunk and smoking weed. Just going through it, because I just could not believe how family would treat you, people that you love, people that you care about. And even after all of this time, I still would, you know, go to the family functions. I still would come around. I still would, you know, and even after a while, I was like, well, Tara started healing, and Tara started, you know, I wasn't as angry anymore. And I would, you know, still come around and still, but even in my coming around then, it still triggered me in such a way that nobody knew about. You know, even going around them, it still made me feel a different type of way. It still made me feel uncomfortable, even though I pressed through it and I masked those feelings for so long. You know what I'm saying? And so here recently, maybe a couple years ago, everything that was going on with my daughter. My daughter was, cutting herself. You already know the story about her cutting herself, mental institutions, psych wards, all that stuff. My divorce, we went homeless, blah, 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 all of this stuff. Ended a narcissistic relationship after the marriage, and just horrible things we were going through. I'm getting ready to have a nervous breakdown because I'm doing all of this by myself, carrying it slow. I reach out to my sister. And tell her everybody's in here. At this point, she trying to take her life consistently. I'm now trying to take my life. My oldest daughter done fell into a deep depression because she now taking over the care of my son and her baby, and it was just a complete mess. And so I reach out to them, for support. I fly all of my kids out to Vegas. And within this time, while I'm supposed to be here getting myself together or whatever, we're being talked about like dogs. We're being literally talked about like dogs. Talking about how my daughter had a baby at a young age. She got pregnant at 15, had a baby at 16. Best gift from God that I could ever imagine in such a situation like that. My grandbaby is my greatest, a gift I never knew that I needed. Talked about them, talked about my baby, how big she was, just talked about, her looks and all of this stuff, and just treated them so horribly. Said things to my kids that I would never say to their kids. Talked to my kids the way that I have never even talked to my own kids. Talked to my kids the way I would never talk to my nieces. Never in life. And nobody has ever admitted and taken full accountability as to what happened. And what makes it so cold is the man that I was married to was on the phone one day and heard my sister yelling and screaming and talking to my kids. I ain't your mama. You over there cutting. You over there doing all this. You over there doing all that. You don't play around with me. I don't play none of that over here and blah, 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 blah. You know what you doing. You got me messed up. I wish I would. You play all that over there with your mama. But I'm telling her, and then I tell her, look at your niece. While you over there running your mouth, look at her. Look at her. Look at her size. Look at the sadness and the coldness in her eyes. Look at her arms. She's sliced from her wrist all the way up to her inner elbows on both arms. Kneecaps all the way up to her inner thighs, sliced open. This is not a joke. This is not a game. This is not nothing what you talking about and how, in his, these toxic, back here in these days, oh, you just whoop they A and they do what you say, and these kids, this and that. This ain't that. This ain't that, baby. This is not that. And so after being talked about like a dog, and after nobody taking full accountability, when I got to the airport to pick up my children, I didn't even say anything. I didn't say that I knew. I didn't say none of this. We all knew there was a little, my kids said what they said, what happened, and all of the things. When I picked up my kids from the airport a couple of years ago, I made a choice and decision at that moment. I will not, because you can do what you want to do to me all day long. As you can hear the story, what happened with me back in childhood, how my auntie was doing, all that. You spend loogies and food. You done all that. You done stole the funeral money for the rest of the funeral money. You done did what you did. You done got the lawyer for the baby. You done did all those things. You can do whatever you want to do to me. But when it comes to my children, baby, the buck stops here. The buck stops here, and God knows what it takes. Because Shantera, you'll deal with it. You'll deal with some stuff, but you can do whatever you want to do to me. Do not F with my children, because they are sacred to me. And I understand that. And it is my duty and my right. It is my job, and it is my God-given purpose to protect, love, and care for them, and do the best that I can to the best of my ability, not in perfection, but to do my best to make sure that they don't have any of the things that I have had to go through and be delivered from or being healed from right now today. So I made a decision when I picked up my kids. No more. I blocked her when I got my kids out the car, and that was that. Everybody acting like they don't understand, they don't know why Tara, what happened to Tara, da da da. I cut everybody off cold and completely. Everybody knows the role that they played. Everybody knows what was said. Everybody knows what was done. And even prior to this, God was revealing certain things, and my sisters just, you know, the hearts and just things like that. And I knew that I had to begin to make a separation. But this really just cut it, right? So I'm done. I'm not dealing with toxic family members. I'm not dealing with none of this fake stuff. All of it is fake. All of it is toxic cycles. All of it is, these people might love you, but they don't like you. And that's what I had to learn. Y'all might love me, but you don't like me for whatever reason. And I'm not even going to say somebody is jealous of me and envious of me. I'm just going to leave that part out of there. But what I am going to say is, you guys don't like me for whatever reason. And this, you might not even think that you don't, but this is a heart posture situation. And so for a lot of the times, I had to grieve people in my family who were still living. I had to go through, you know, they have the different stages of what I learned in psychology. There's 5 stages of death and dying, you know, anger, bargaining, you know, displacement, you know, and then the 5th one is acceptance. I'm now at the 5th. That's why I can sit here and tell the story now. I have now accepted the fact that blood is not always thicker than water. I can now accept the fact that family will not always be there for you. I can now accept the fact that sometimes this is just the family that you were born into, and God raises up certain people to break the cycles. To break the cycles. And as these stories were coming out, one of my aunts called me one day and said, this is so cold, y'all. Called me one day and said, yeah, I talked to my sister about what was said and about everything that happened, you know, with you guys, you know, after Mama died, and the response, her reaction. She began to roll all over the floor. She began to scream, and she began to cry, and she began to vomit and throw up, and she began to just in despair. And she said, I just don't see how somebody with a reaction like that could be lying. And I said, well, okay. That's all I said. I said, well, okay. If that's what you believe, baby, because instantly I thought, the only reason why you will react like that is because you are Emma effing guilty. Baby, you are guiltier than a kid that got chocolate all over his mouth talking about he ain't ate the chocolate cake. You are guilty. You are guilty, baby. And so I am here to tell a story. And we don't have to say names. I don't have to be mad and upset. But what happened on my birthday, you called, my oldest sister called. Oh, happy birthday. Sing me happy birthday. Everybody saying happy birthday to Shantara, blah, 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 blah. You know, where's the kids? You know, how's everything? I haven't talked to you. Mind you, I don't talk to them. I have not talked to them. I do not talk to them. It is, the relationships are cut off because I refuse to continue to interject myself in toxicity. I refuse to interject myself into gossip. I refuse to interject myself into malicious activities. I refuse to interject myself into love that is not genuine. Happy birthday, blah, 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 blah. Where's the kids? Oh, the kids are gone. You know, I hadn't talked to her for so long. I'm telling her what happened. You know, Deanna moved out. You know, she's in this program. And, you know, I ended up dropping off TJ. You know, I was going through a lot, getting ready to, you know, have another nervous breakdown. Just, you know, carrying all of this on my own. And, you know, they're now with their dad and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, I'm focusing on a business with me and my best friend to get things open while the kids are gone. You know, they're going to be gone to probably like maybe over a year, you know? And her response is, well, you could have sent your son over here with me, and I don't even know why you sent him over there with his dad, and blah blah blah. There's all his cousins over here, and he can do this and he can do that. And well, if you saying that you was going through all of this mental stuff and you trying to open up a business, how are you gonna do that with you already having your mental issues, and these people are gonna have mental issues, and I remember she said that these women are getting too bold nowadays. They're getting too bold. These women are dropping these people off with their kids. I knew something about a family member in the family, that some business that I should not have known about within this phone call. There is no way that you should have told me all of this person's business. Somebody I never talk to, somebody I don't speak to, somebody I don't even have a relationship with. There is no way that you should have disclosed all of this information to me. Well, I remember when my aunt was trying to give her kids to their dad, and grandma told her, no, you're going to stand up. You're going to be a woman. You're going to take care of your responsibilities, and you're going to do what you have to do. You're not giving your kids to anybody. You're going to stand up and be a woman. And I'm on the phone and I'm listening. And I said, but their dad is able-bodied. There's nothing wrong with him. He's not on drugs. Why can't he take his kids? The fact of the matter is, he's mad because I left, but I did not have these kids by myself, and I'm not gonna raise them by myself. And that's just the end of the story. That's just the end of the story. This job was never meant to be placed on one entire person, and I'm not gonna do it if there's an opportunity for me not to. The answer is no, not another day. And then I'm thinking to myself, as I'm listening to why you didn't send him down here, and I'm thinking to myself, did we forget what happened when I sent my kids to you when we were all in here having a nervous breakdown and suicidal attempts and all of these things? Did you forget about what happened with the kids when they were sent to you when I was asking you guys for help? Did we forget? Well, I don't know what happened and whatever was done, when the kids was here, but we love y'all. No accountability. My kids they want an apology. My kids don't even want a relationship with them because of the way that they are. They don't care to have a relationship with them. I don't care to have a relationship with them. This is not what I want to do. This is not how I want to be treated. This is not how I want to be talked to. She owes them an apology for what was said and how they were treated in her care during that summer. Has she? No. There's been no accountability. So instantly after we have this phone call, I ended up hanging up, and I'm thinking, I instantly felt the feeling of regret. Regret that I opened up. Regret that I said anything. I'm thinking, this is my big sister. You know what I'm saying? We ain't talked in so long. I'll just hit her up on what I got going on, the kids and where they at or whatever. There was a heavy feeling of regret. And the Lord told me, you should have kept your mouth closed. So I text her, I said, the feeling of regret of even talking to you. And not even 10 minutes later, my daughter called me with crying, texted me with crying emojis. Everybody is calling me now, requesting me on Facebook, asking me what happened, asking me what's wrong with you, asking me where I'm at, talking about what did I do. She said it sounds like they're saying like you abandoned us and all of this stuff and what's wrong with you. And now everybody is calling and Facebook requesting and texting me and all of these things. I don't want to deal with it. I told Deanna, block them all. Block them all. Block them all. All of it is fake love. And I'm like, all of this on my birthday? When I tell you I cried like a baby, and all it did was confirmed my stance. All it did was confirm the actions that I've taken with my family. All it did was it confirmed, it settled it. It made me sure to continue on this path of breaking generational curses. And I was just texting my best friend, and she was talking about the lady who was driving around with her niece and nephew in the trunk for that couple of years or whatever, or however long the babies was in the trunk. And she said it was diabolical. And of course I've heard diabolical all my life or whatever, but unbeknownst to me, my first interaction with a narcissist was after my mama died. You know what I'm saying? Then after that, it was the man that I married. And then after that, it was the man that I got into a relationship with after the marriage. But I didn't know that. I didn't know nothing about a narcissist at this time. I'm a teenager. You know what I'm saying? And so she said it was diabolical. And so I've heard this word, you know, it's all going around, diabolical, diabolical. But when she said it, the Lord said, look it up in a dictionary to get the full meaning of it. Diabolical means unholy. It means wicked. It means sinister. It means of the devil. It means demonic. Ungodly, baby. And these are the ties that I have cut on that side with what happened to us as children after our mama died. What my auntie did to us was diabolical. It was evil. And it was wicked, and it was unholy, and it was unpleasant. That's what happened. That is the story. And when I text my sister, I told her, you are full of gossip. You are so, and I was cussing, texting her, you are so full of it. I wish that I would have never opened up my mouth to you. I wish that I've never would have confided in you. I said, here you are now running and telling the news. Then my auntie ended up calling me. I don't even talk to you. I don't even talk to you. We don't even communicate. Then you ended up calling me that evening, you wishing me a happy birthday. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're calling me to get information about what my sister ran her mouth and told you already. You're not calling to wish me a happy birthday, my love. No, you're not. Let's keep it real. Let's keep it 100. Let's keep it a buck. And this is what I'm saying. That's toxic energy. And I came away from that conversation. I said, look how this conversation made me feel. It made me feel uncomfortable. It made me feel, you know, sad. It made me feel, you know what I'm saying? It was grief. It was just, it grieves your heart. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, really? You're not calling me to wish me a happy birthday, baby. You're not. You're calling to see if I'm going to give up any type of information. You're calling to get clarity about the situation. This is the head of the gossip family. She runs and tells everybody business. Everybody knows everything. You're a new guy. You ought to get paid. That's what I told her. You ought to get paid for broadcasting and gossiping on everybody's business. This should be your job because you're damn good at it. You're damn good at it. You are damn good at it. And so I just wanted to open up and, you know, tell a little bit of my story as far as my history and my background and why I say the things that I say in every video that I've ever made. Everything that I talk about, everything that God has revealed to me, every grain of wisdom, every grain of knowledge, every grain of understanding has solely been built off of my experiences in life after my mama died. I will pray to God, please, Lord, don't let me be like them. Pray hard. Please, Lord, don't let me be like them. Because we didn't feel loved. We didn't feel cared for. Baby, my auntie was a piece of work. Baby, you are wicked, evil, diabolical. Baby, you don't do your sister's children that way after losing their mom. So I've had to heal from all of this stuff. I've had to go through my season. I had to go through my process. I've had to go through all my hurt. I've had to go through all my pain. I've had to heal, but I'm standing on business. I do not want a relationship with this toxic family. And what I took away from this after what happened, he told me the gossiping needs to stop. He is not with the gossiping at all, period. You know what I'm saying? The gossiping needs to end. And I know everybody can't relate. And I know there are some people who are born into, you know, not perfect families, but really beautiful families. You know what I'm saying? That's just not my story. And it's okay. But to God be the glory. Romans 8:28, I'm working all things together for the good to those who love the Lord and who are the called. He's giving me the opportunity. He's going to give me the opportunity to build a beautiful family that is his blueprint. And I thank God for that. And I'm excited about that. My kids get to see something different. My kids get to experience something different. We get to raise up their kids and, you know, different and love, kindness, and respect. That is part of my story. That is a part of my story, y'all. That is some things that we went through after my mom died. And I've never talked about it because I don't want people to think that, you know, I'm just so mad and so angry. Had I told this story some years ago, I probably would have told it, I know I would have told it a lot different. I know that I would have told it a lot different, but now that I'm healed from it, it don't bother me none. I've just accepted it for what it is. I know that I'm a generational curse breaker. I know that, you know, people can love you. I'm not saying, I don't doubt that they don't love me. You know, I don't doubt it. And I remember her, you know, I would have her, you know, on my socials or whatever. And it came to a point to where every now and then she would, hey, Tara, you know, I love you. I love the kids. I miss you guys. Give the kids a kiss for me. And after a while of saying that, I think this was like a couple of months ago, I told her, every time you text me or every time you send a message, it triggers me in a way. It triggers me in a way to where I don't want anything to do with you. I don't want to hear from you. I don't want you texting me. I don't want you interacting with me on my socials. I don't follow you, you follow me. I don't want it. I don't want it. You have done enough damage is what I told her. You have done enough damage to me. You have done enough damage. So accept the fact that I don't want a relationship with you and stop texting me. And I blocked her. I don't want to have communication with you. I don't want to have communication with my sisters. I do not want a relationship with them. I still love my sisters. I still pray for them and all, and I believe that they love me and my kids. But it is not according to the way that God has a blueprint for family and for love and for togetherness. And because that is my reality, I don't have to interject myself into it. I've stopped. I don't deserve it. That was never mine to carry. But glory be to God, he's helped me and healed me, healing me, because I'm still in my process, healing me and delivering me from all of that and giving me a new found relationship. A new chance. That's why these messages that I'm delivering, it all ties together in what God is doing. He's giving us new. Zero toxicity, baby. Stand on it. If you have a platform to talk about it without being angry and without being bitter, tell your story. Tell your story. If these people didn't want to be found out, they should have treated you better. And that's the end of that. We are still Isaiah 25 for the rest of 25. Until the next time. Inspire, be inspired. I love you guys. God bless you.